It's crunch time, people. Rob, you ready to finish the game in 3 hours? That's the spirit. Hey, Alicia, we've got 3 hours to finish all the art for the prototype. You ready?
I haven't started.
Yeah! Hey, Dave, you ready to finish the game in 3 hours?
Yeah, I've already done it.
Holy shit. Sweet! Okay, we're picking up where we left off with the last game dev, and we are finishing up the prototype. But that means a bunch of things I'll explain later. Because it doesn't mean we're anywhere near finishing a game. It means we're finishing a very early, very rough proof of concept, first playability, minimum viable product version of the game, which we're going to test at the very last hour of the day and hope it feels great. If it doesn't, we have, well, it's 2:15. We have 3 hours. I have made a few UI elements. I need to make a few more and hand them over to Rob, and Rob needs to put them in the game. I'm going to get Alicia's help to put some of those together. By UI, I mean user interface. Our game is a tabletop game that is facilitated by use of an app, which we need an interface for, and we have some playable functionality for the prototype in here. There's a lot of temporary stuff like this delightful portrait of yours truly. Thanks for that, Rob. Keep in mind too, this is a prototype. We take the prototype and we try and get the game funded through various sources, and then eventually, if that can't work, we'll try and get the funding together ourselves. In the meantime, Dave, I think you're working on the back end to get stats and cards in, is that right?
That is correct. Well, I'm making sure everything's nicely laid out and balanced, so it's all easy to review and change and fix. Because we're about to launch into a whole bunch of playtesting, and that means we're gonna need to iteratively change a whole bunch of stuff.
Let's go inverse health bar. So you're trying to fill it up. You're like converting it or capturing it, right? So the bar fills up, it's going up that way. It's filling up with luscious control.
There's like arcs on either side of it from each color, is each person.
Yeah, I get you. So it's like, imagine the circle's not broken, but then there's a health bar on either side in different colors.
Ooh, I like
And
that.
they fill up to the top.
I like that. So it'll be like that.
Where are the buttons? The 3 buttons
So
there?
this is a button.
The buttons for the bad.
So if I want this character to attack, I go that. What we just did then was the first time we've tried to visualize the actual entire goal of the game and how to play to win in the last, 3 hours of development. Alicia, I would like your help, please, to turn these 2 bars into layer bars. At the moment, they're just images.
So I have got all my cards in order, and now I'm basically plugging them into the back end of the program that Rob's made. And this is like a different language to me, so I'm just doing what I'm told, changing these words to match these words, because I'm the words person. You can tell by how eloquently I'm speaking.
So why are we in the last leg of making this prototype? Well, we're not in the last leg of making the game, but the prototype is basically the first step to test the viability and playability and, I guess, sellability of a product we want to make. To take a prototype like this to full fruition and something that we can share with the world is going to actually take, I'm going to say, at least a year and a half of active development. There's going to be people who need to be hired, and there's going to be a lot of assets that need to be created. And I can't leap into that without some sort of provability and without some sort of funding. So the prototype is the provability phase, and it's through using that I can either get some sort of crowdfunding as a later scenario, or hopefully some sort of funding with the partnership of someone else or a grant, for example. So it's the result of the work that we've put in over the last half year that culminates in our finale today, that I'll be able to take and shop around and try and find the best way to turn this concept into a reality. So, like I've alluded to, the game we're working on is a tabletop game facilitated with a mobile interface. But as a tabletop game, that'll come with some cool stuff, like all the cards and sort of the game functionality will be in the mobile interface, but the play itself will be on the table. This is one of our work in progress character sculpts so far. This is all very work in progress. And this is another work in progress sculpt sent by another talented sculptor, Dan Liontower, and this is basically what I sort of sent back, along with detailed descriptions of what might change. So we have 3 models that, as a result of the end of the prototype phase, will be hopefully printable, and one of the ways I'm hoping to help fund this game is by selling the miniatures, because we're going to have 3 models and characters that are actively developed and built for this game that fit into the world lore, and that will be part of the final product, but they're sort of like a proof of concept and our first ever versions. But the idea is, hopefully in a couple of months' time, we'll be able to produce some content on Tabletop Time and maybe my main channel where we can show off some of these characters and do cool creative projects with them so people can buy the digital files and, as a result of buying them, help support our game. All right, we're in the home stretch. We have half an hour. I've got all the final UI assets done. I think Alicia's finishing off one last one as well. Rob is throwing it all in a very efficient way.
Was it further than you were expecting?
That was further than I was expecting. Yay! These are not the characters that we've developed for the game. They're our roleplay minis, but we need a clear way to identify and distinguish the characters that we're playing with each other. And we're familiar with these characters. We're still developing the in-game characters, so we're just using these as a work in progress. And then this is just a rough template of the play area.
That's great.
Bloody staircase, just take.
I know.
So, Dave, would you do the honours of giving the elevator pitch?
Welcome to Gatecrash. The purpose of this game is it is meant to be a fast-paced game where you come in with characters of your choice and you can build a team of characters of your choice, and they'll all have their own abilities, etc. But they actually come into the game with a deck of cards that represent their items and abilities. And when you enter the game, all their decks are combined into one, and that's what you play with. So effectively what you need to do is destroy the central objective.
Shall we do the honours to start the testing and then we can swap around?
Yeah, okay. What are we going with?
Let's give the quadrant method a go.
All right, put a number in your hand equal to the quadrant you wish to deploy in. And then put that hand up and we'll reveal. All right, so now in any order, I guess. You deploying quadrant 1 anywhere, and I'll deploy in quadrant 3 anywhere.
Dave, you're up.
Okay, so I have a coffee that I can equip. I think we need to give the caffeine to Pro. I'm going to deploy Pro, and I'm going to use an ability. I'm going to drink my coffee.
Pro is going to basic attack.
You bastard!
Catalina.
Because he just drank a coffee, sped across the board with his extra speed, and attacked Catalina.
So you dealt 25 damage. And you got a slight bit of XP.
I'm going to move, I'm going to attack, and I'm going to shoot a water gun. So, just while we're getting set up, gut introduction impressions. Completely honest, good and bad. Hit us.
I was really skeptical on the whole map thing, but I actually really like it because I'm a terrible at math person. So if it's all done for me, and the rounds seem pretty quick too, at least at this scale, which I don't know if you intend to like do
This
that.
is the standard
We're
game
thinking
size,
we're
I think.
seeing this sort of size.
Then awesome. Like I like games that are fairly easy and quick to play, but can be expanded upon if you want to as well.
I do like the how you've designed the deployment, how like you can even deploy in the same quadrant.
Yeah, because we started with an edge-to-edge deployment, and it's just felt so slow. You're just so far away from each other. Whereas this is like you could, if you deploy in the same quadrant, you might both be like and split because you just want to get the control points, or you may just start scuffling immediately.
Do you want to do the same method that we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to keep playing a little bit. I know we're over time, but I think we're having a bit of fun, which is a good sign. But in wrapping up, we'll do a question of the day. But before we get to that, I just want to mention a couple of cool things. One, like I mentioned, there's a big road ahead as far as developing this goes, and we're pausing development of this game specifically until I can get more funding, and we're planning that ahead and everything. But Once I have that sorted, I'll be looking for team members. So if anyone is in the Melbourne and Eastern Melbourne specifically area and can commute to Gippsland or lives in Gippsland, there's actually an application page I'm going to put in the description. Specifically, I'm looking for coders and UI artists, that sort of thing. But yeah, please feel free to share information about yourself if you're a coder or an app developer. Musicians, sound effects, all that sort of stuff is stuff I'm interested in. And this is sort of down the road, so don't expect anything anytime soon, but you know, who knows what the future holds. The other thing that's kind of cool to share, which I'll give you a hint about, is while we're pausing active development on this version of the game, we're going to switch over active development to a different sort of, I guess you could call it a spin-off game built in the same world, a card game, a physical card game, kind of like, you know, the style of Pokemon or Magic, where it's like a 1v1. You pick one hero each and they have their own decks, and we're going to develop that so we can continue to create art assets that will be used in this game, but then we can create a product sooner rather than later that we can sell to, again, help fund this game. So there's a lot of really exciting things to help make this possible. We're all crossing our fingers and working really, really hard. I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible because we have big dreams. But that is where I'm going to have to leave this game for now. Let's wrap it up with a question.
So, James has a question that says, did you already collectively decide on your game's story and objectives, or are these sessions yet to come?
So that's a really good question. The core mechanics of the games, or at least specifically how it uses the app and what the basic sort of functionality is, was part of the original idea that I brought to the team and that we all started working on. Then how the game feels and what the world is, Dave and I have been working on actively. We get feedback from other people, but the world of Gatecrash is something that he and I have been working on, and he puts more time actively developing and writing. We workshop together and back and forth. It's really, really exciting. There's so much to share. You saw a hint of one or two of the characters. There's some really cool stuff to come, and you will see more coming. Even though we're pausing active development of the game, we're still going to be actively developing the world, characters, card art, and all this stuff. Thanks for joining us for this game dev, and we will have another game dev vlog in the near future covering the card game, because we're going to start developing a card game. Woo!